Warriors Fast Break on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill. Meet me at the levee for fabulous food and drinks at Jefferson Pub and Grill. Come check out their great nightly specials and limited time offer menu. Jefferson Pub and Grill. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Warriors Fast Break here on HBC TV 25. I'm Justin Barrientos, joined by men's head coach Todd Eisner. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the Upper Iowa, which was the game that you had on Saturday. It was your NSIC opener, and it was a close game, 79-74. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us what you saw from your team out on the floor.
Well, I thought we showed some signs of improvement, and that's what we were looking for. We've got to figure out a way to do some things on the defensive end of the floor at a much higher level, on a much more consistent basis for us to have a chance to win games on the road. I thought we made some strides in that area, yet we've still got a long way to go, and obviously didn't do enough on Saturday to figure out a way to win the game.
Isaiah Gray played in this game, and I know that it's been a little while since he's been able to play. What were you able to get from Isaiah on the floor?
Well, with Isaiah, obviously he missed almost 3 months of work with the shoulder surgery, so he was cleared to play basketball activities the week of our first game, and so the ability to get the repetitions that we need, that everybody else had, through the first 4 weeks of practice, he was unable to do that, and so he's got some catching up to do. He's got some catching up to do just in terms of cardio, and then obviously in the things from a foundation on both ends of the floor that we think are important. He's going to have to get caught up on, and I thought he showed a lot of rust out in California. I thought he showed some definite strides of improvement on both ends of the floor on Saturday, and hopefully we can see some continued improvement with his game.
Okay, Corey Jeffs is another player that was kind of hampered a little bit early season with injuries, but he's been able to play now. How has his development been?
Well, I think he's still struggling a little bit with the hip. It's something that he's still getting treated on every day. It's something that some days he wakes up and it's has a little more tightness to it than other days. Corey's someone who's very skilled from an offensive standpoint in terms of shooting the basketball, and we just need to get him some consistent minutes and have him playing at a high level to help us try to compete and win games in this league.
All right, I know that a lot of this is new for you because it's a new job, new everything. We're going to actually get to that a little bit more in the second segment of our interview today. But from what you've seen so far, is there somebody that you're going to be leaning on for either experience or talent on this team, or is it one like the women's team where they're going to try to distribute minutes and distribute scoring all throughout the team?
Well, I think it's something we're still working on. We would love to have an opportunity to say, this is going to be our go-to guy, but at least through 5 games of the season, that's not somebody that's really stood out. I think we've got multiple people that can be that person on a given night. I just don't know if we've seen that person be the same person every single night, and so there's good and bad to that. Obviously, when you have a go-to scorer or someone that can get a shot for your team or can score on a consistent level, we'd certainly like to have the opportunity to throw that person the ball in crunch time. But also, it's a lot more difficult to play against a team that has multiple weapons, and I think we probably trend towards having multiple weapons. We just need to have those people all clicking on the same night probably to give us a chance to have some success.
Now, I know Riley Bamanek has been kind of one of those players that this team has kind of had a go-to player over the last couple seasons. Burst out on the scene first year, really took the conference by storm. Second year, pretty much the same. A little bit of a slow start to this season. What have you seen in his game so far?
Well, he hasn't shot the ball as well as I think he would like to, and as we're expecting him to. He had a very good game against Cal State San Bernardino, and had a really good look from 3 at the end of the game to tie it, and really felt good about him being the guy that was going to take that shot for us, and we drew up the play for him to get that shot because he had played so well in that particular game. I thought he had some good moments Saturday at Upper Iowa, and the big thing that we want out of Riley and everybody else on our team is we just want a consistency level. If they're going to be a 10-point-a-game scorer or a 12-point-a-game scorer, we'd like to have them be that scorer every game. Where you run into problems is when you run into a guy that can get 20 one game and gets 3 the next game. You don't know which one of those people is going to show up, and the nights that they get 3, that usually causes you some problems. So that's one of the things that we're really trying to facilitate on our team and develop on our team is a consistency level in effort, in technique, on both ends of the floor, and it's something that we've been lacking on in the first 5 games.
Okay, we have just about 2 minutes left in this segment, but I do want to touch a little bit on your trip out to California. You knew heading into it when I talked to you before that you're going to be facing some pretty good teams from their conferences. What are you going to be able to take from that trip to California and playing those kind of top-level teams to last you the rest of the season?
Well, I think it was a great experience for us. Obviously, the end result wasn't what we were looking for, but we played 3 different styles of basketball, which was, I thought, really good for us. It got us, at least an early look at what the Northern Sun's going to be like in terms of playing Friday and Saturday night. And obviously, we didn't handle that great, but San Diego gave us a really sound look, a really veteran team. San Bernardino had a couple guys out, and I thought we played well enough at times to win that game, and just didn't do enough over 40 minutes and had a really bad lull to start the second half. But I thought we showed some really good signs in battling back to tie the game late. And then the Pomona game just got out of hand. It was a style of play. They were on a 2-3 matchup zone the entire game and really caused us some problems. And so it was good to see how we would handle those situations. Obviously, we found out we need to handle them much better.
All right, we're going to take a break here on Warriors Fast Break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with head coach Todd Eisner. That's coming up right after this. Warriors Fast Break on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill. Meet me at the levee for fabulous food and drinks at Jefferson Pub and Grill. Come check out their great nightly specials and limited time offer menu. Jefferson Pub and Grill.
We chose HBC because they're a local company. They have a big audience in Winona, which is the geographic group that we're looking for. Mel is very easy to work with. She's genuinely concerned about how our money is being spent, and she does everything she can to make sure we get the most for our money. She takes care of us. So whenever there's a problem, which is rarely, I know that I can go to her and she's going to take care of it.
To see how HBC advertising can help your company, call Melanie at 507-474-5802.
Get an inside look at the Winona State basketball program with Warriors Fast Break on TV 25, brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill. Host Justin Barrientos sits down with the Warriors head coaches each week to break down last week's game and to look ahead at WSU's next opponent, as well as chat with Winona State players. Tune in at 4:30 p.m. on Thursdays, 6 p.m. on Fridays, 7 a.m. on Saturdays, and before every Warrior home game for Warriors Fast Break on HBC, brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill.
Welcome back to Warriors Fast Break on HBC TV 25, joined by head coach Todd Eisner of the men's basketball team. Let's find out a little bit about you. Like I said in the last segment, everything is kind of new to you. It's a different division, different set of teams. So I want to kind of find out from you, when you took this job at Winona State, what were some of the first things that you did in order to get ready for the competition that you're going to face and maybe the surroundings that you had here at Winona?
Sure. I thought the first 60 days would be really, really important, with the timing of the move and the hiring. It was unique in college basketball in that usually those things happen in the spring, and it gives you a longer window to get ready for the season. And we really had to get moving right away and hit the ground running and get ready for our fall workouts, get ready for the first day of practice, and obviously find out where we were at with the recruiting process with all of the prospective student athletes that we were targeting and that Zach had targeted throughout the summer. So we were very, very busy, needless to say. But those were kind of our adjustments that we had to make and the things that we prioritized throughout the first 60 days. And then October 15th jumped up and got to us really quickly. And then next thing you know, we're on the last week of the school year for the first semester. And so once the school year gets going, everything goes so fast. I'm thankful that I've had 17 years of experience of doing this, or I think it would have been even more overwhelming. But it's been a great challenge. It's been an exciting challenge, but certainly something that every day you got to be prepared for.
Let's talk a little bit about that time aspect, because this was a strange job opening where you didn't have a whole lot of time from when you started to when you were going to actually start practices and that sort of thing. Obviously, you've had different jobs before. Was this maybe the most difficult transition that you've had to have because of the time factor?
No question. I think there are a lot of people that have been very helpful in the transition to make it as smooth as possible. And obviously the first person that I would acknowledge with that is obviously Zach Melvick's been tremendous in helping with all aspects of the program. But yeah, no question. I mean, I think my official start date was August 17th. School started August 24th, and we could start doing individuals with the guys, I think August 28th or August 29th. So, you know, I mean, we had to have a plan in place and get moving on it and have, you know, gain some credibility and some trust with the players and establish relationships with the players. And you know, usually you have, like I said, a longer window to do that, and we didn't have that opportunity. So a lot of things we're doing on the fly. Our guys have been really receptive to what we've been trying to do. We just need to obviously figure out to do it at a higher level now that we've gotten into the game situations. And you know, transition and change is always a process, and we're going through that process right now. We'd all like it to be going as fast as possible, but change usually takes time, and we're going to be really patient to make sure that we feel like we do it the right way.
I want to talk about the different divisions within college basketball, because you were obviously a player and I believe a coach in Division I, NAIA, and now you're here in Division II. What are the differences in talent level in the different divisions?
Well, obviously at the Division I level, depending on what level of Division I you're at, you're dealing with young men that have some legitimate aspirations to be professional basketball players. And you know, even at that level, you still want to make sure that you emphasize to those young people and their families that the education that they're receiving at your respective institution has got to be the most important aspect of why they're there. But you know, you can't fool yourself either in that there's some people that are there that are going to be pros. And so you know, the talent level is very eye-opening at times. You know, you watch the college basketball games that are on TV right now, and those young men that play so many games prior to getting to college are really, really talented young men. Obviously, the Division II level, I think we have some talented young men working and playing for us also. But again, I think the realistic reason that you're here is a little different than the Division I level, and where I was at for 17 years as a head coach at the NAI level. You know, you see young men doing it for the love of the game. Their scholarship situation many times isn't quite like it is at the Division I or Division II level. So the sacrifices they make and their families make to play the game of college basketball is something that you certainly appreciate and respect.
Okay, let's just 2 minutes left in the segment, so let's take a look ahead now to Southwest and Sioux Falls, who'll be your opponents this weekend. Home games for you in the NSIC. Talk a little bit about those teams and you know, what problems they may face for you.
Well, you know, I've been watching a lot of Southwest so far since we got back from Upper Iowa. They're really big. You know, they've got 8 guys on their roster as heavy as our heaviest guy. You know, so I mean, just size-wise right now, we've got to understand the importance of not allowing them to turn it into a paint game and score, you know, easily inside. We've got to limit their touches in the paint and make them play over the top of us. So that'll be the first challenge with them. Sioux Falls got a couple of really talented shooters on the perimeter. One was an all-conference player last year. Zach is handling a lot of that scout, and so we'll get into that a little bit early this week and then really hit up that Friday night after the game and Saturday morning. But obviously a first home weekend in the Northern Sun, we want to try to do a great job of protecting our home court, and that'll be really important.
Let's talk health-wise. Is there anybody that might have to sit out in these games?
Well, you know, obviously the big blow that we had was Mohammed being declared out for the year, and so that won't change, but certainly in a game like this, he would be very beneficial to us with the size that we're going to face with Southwest Minnesota. But other than that, I think we're about as healthy as we've been all year, and keep our fingers crossed that it stays that way.
All right. Well, very good luck this weekend then. Thank you for joining us.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. We're going to take a break here on Warriors Fast Break. When we come back, we'll talk with Scott Ballard, the head coach of the women's basketball team, right after this. Warriors Fast Break on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill. Meet me at the levee for fabulous food and drinks at Jefferson Pub and Grill. Come check out their great nightly specials and limited time offer menu. Jefferson Pub and Grill. Tune in for the Sports Buzz every Tuesday at 5:30 as a panel of local sports journalists tackle the hottest topics on everything from local high school and collegiate sports to regional discussion about the Twins, Brewers, Vikings, and Packers. With the Power Play Fantasy Football Challenge to the Rant of the Week and NFL Pick'em, the Sports Buzz is fast-paced and sure to entertain. That's new episodes of the Sports Buzz every Tuesday at 5:30 with replays only on HBC TV 25.
From the very beginning, HBC has been a leader in advanced technology, community service, and customer care. We are proud of our local roots and hometown values. Dedicated to making a difference, we understand how much our communities benefit by having world-class technology at their fingertips, and having local team members that live in the neighborhoods we serve helps HBC to keep in touch with the needs of each community in a very personalized way. We care about each community, and we are here to stay. Call 888-474-9995 and start experiencing the HBC difference today.
eyebrows on that.
That's a hog, man.
Welcome back to Warriors Fast Break here on TV 25. Time now to switch to the women's team and talk with head coach Scott Ballard. Thank you for joining us again.
Well, thanks for having me, Justin.
And back after Thanksgiving break and after your first NSIC game of the season. So how'd things go against Upper Iowa?
Well, we ended up winning. It was not a pretty game. We kind of were sluggish in the first half with our energy level and defense. But after halftime, we came out the third quarter and played really well the third quarter and opened up a nice cushion to work with going into the late stages of the game. But, typical life on the road in conference play. Home team plays with a lot of energy and so anytime you can win on the road, whether it's pretty or ugly or close or a big margin, you got to feel pretty good about that.
Was there anything to having a little bit of time off for Thanksgiving and then having to kind of switch your mindset back to practice and then out on the road for a game?
No, I don't think so. We played on Tuesday night earlier that week and let our players go home with their families after the game was over. So they were home Tuesday night, all day Wednesday, most of Thursday, and then we had a Thursday evening practice again on Friday. And once they got back from, Thanksgiving meal and little family time, they know how to focus. This is real important to them, and so I don't think that was an issue at all.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about maybe the switch of competition from some of the schools that you faced in your non-conference schedule to that in the NSIC. Was there a big difference in opponents in that sense?
Well, every team is different because of their personnel or maybe their philosophy, defensively, and some teams have more balance offensively. Some are more of a power team because of size that they may have, and others are more of a perimeter team. And Upper Iowa, they've got several players that can score the ball, but defensively we expose some of their deficiencies. Their post defense and their transition defense is probably two of their biggest things that they need to improve on, and we were able to exploit that as the game went along.
Let's talk a little bit about Kayla Timmerman playing in her first game in a couple of games. You were hoping to have her back for your first conference game, and you did, and she came back in a big way.
Yeah. Well, the first half she was quiet offensively, and part of that is probably because she hadn't practiced much or played, for a week. The other part was offensively we were posting up Hannah McGlone and our fours, and the second half we kind of switched that, and Kayla had a big game that offensively the second half, but she was an inside presence for us on the defensive end as well with 6 blocks and 9 rebounds. So it was good to have her back, needless to say. But, it was a good team effort. Tara had a really good game, and we had 2 or 3 other kids that were kind of battling some illness and not feeling well. But, we've got a lot of depth, and it helped us, overcome maybe some unusual nights offensively for some of our other players, but that's the beauty of having a lot of depth and a lot of balance where people can pick each other up.
Let's go kind of backwards into the last game, Loris, before the Thanksgiving break. I think that's the highlights that we have coming up here. And you talked about the depth, and that really showed through in the games that you didn't have Kayla Timmerman in, because it seemed like your team really didn't miss a step without her.
Yeah, well, when you don't have the shot blocker in there or a low post presence, offensively and defensively, then you kind of have to make some adjustments. But we knew, Loris was actually a little taller and bigger than us, with a couple 6'2s. They didn't play them at the same time together, but still, they were a challenge to try to shoot over right underneath the basket. But, we feed off of our defense. Our defense against Loris, especially as the game went along, started to create some turnovers, and we got stops and rebounded a lot better the second half. and that created some open floor transition opportunities, and that gets fun when you start getting some 3-on-2s and 2-on-1s and some open floor to work with. That gets a little bit easier, and we started to feed off of that. Our box press was effective in that game. So there were some good things that we did in that game as it progressed. But like you mentioned, our depth and balance is a strength of our team.
One last question here before we get to our player guest, and that's in the Loris game. It was the first time this season you had been out rebounded. Talk about that. Was that a point of emphasis after that game going into Upper Iowa?
Yeah, Jenny, who's our guest today, I'm sure that she would be able to confirm that that's a point of emphasis with this team, that we play good defense, but you've got to finish it off by boxing out and rebounding. And right now we're kind of middle of the pack rebounding wise, and that's an area that we want to be, one of the top 4 teams in the league rebounding. If we can do that, that's just going to make it that much more difficult for our opponents.
All right, well, let's take a break here on Warriors Fast Break. When we come back, we'll get the player perspective with Jenny Tuttle. That's coming up right after this. Warriors Fast Break on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill. Meet me at the levee for fabulous food and drinks at Jefferson Pub and Grill. Come check out their great nightly specials and limited time offer menu. Jefferson Pub and Grill.
Join HBC Sports' Extra Point one-camera coverage of high school football and soccer throughout the fall, presented by Lewiston Auto. In addition to our football night crew broadcasts, Extra Point will bring you 8 games from the gridiron and 9 games from the pitch. For the full slate of games, simply visit hbci.com/sports to find out when your team will be on the field. That's Extra Point coverage of HBC Sports presented by Lewiston Auto, all fall, only on TV 25.
Get an inside look at the Winona State basketball program with Warriors Fast Break on TV 25, brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill. Host Justin Barrientos sits down with the Warriors head coaches each week to break down last week's game and to look ahead at WSU's next opponent, as well as chat with Winona State players. Tune in at 4:30 p.m. on Thursdays, 6 p.m. on Fridays, 7 a.m. on Saturdays, and before every Warrior home game for Warriors Fast Break on HBC, brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill.
We chose HBC because they're a local company. They have a big audience in Winona, which is the geographic group that we're looking for. Mel is very easy to work with. She's genuinely concerned about how our money is being spent, and she does everything she can to make sure we get the most for our money. She takes care of us. So whenever there's a problem, which is rarely, I know that I can go to her and she's going to take care of it.
To see how HBC Advertising can help your company, call Melanie at 507-474-5802.
Welcome back to Warriors Fast Break here on HBC TV 25. Jenny Tuttle is our guest now, and let's start out by talking about what Coach Ballard was talking about at the end of his segment, and that was the rebounding aspect and how that's maybe a point of emphasis in practice or all throughout the season. How much of an emphasis is it?
During practice, we really emphasize rebounding, and it's a big discipline if you miss a rebound. So it's important to get out into games and be strong at that.
Even for point guards?
Yeah, even for point guards, because we do play against a lot of guards that like to crash the board. So we can't just get out there and forget about the point guard.
All right, and I'll ask you then too about point guard and rebounding. How much do you try to get into the point guard's rebounding?
It varies from team to team with regards to the size of the point guard or what offense they run. Some teams, the point guard, she may pass and cut through, and if the ball is not reversed to her, then she's in a weak side rebounding situation. So, some point guards are primarily staying out on perimeter, and then some are trying to get extra possessions and 50-50 balls, So it does vary from team to team, but we want it to always be on their mind with regards to a focus and making sure that we finish off our defense.
All right, now when we first sat down here to talk, Coach Ballard said we had the infamous Turtle on as our guest today. Is that a nickname that you picked up here at Winona State, or is that something that because your name is so close, Tuttle, Turtle, that maybe you've had all your life?
Actually, my older brother had that nickname throughout his elementary and high school career, but
So
no.
it's genetic, huh?
Yeah, it must be. But no, he just gave me that nickname when I was a freshman, and it kind of stuck.
And you
Well-
thought that there was something else with that.
Well, I didn't give her that nickname because we thought she was slow or anything. I had heard from one of her fellow freshmen that maybe they made this up. I don't know. I'm learning more about it all the time. But the word that I got was that one of the professors, when they were calling roll, the first week of classes, that they said Jenny Turtle instead of Jenny Tuttle. And so I never forgot that, but I learned today that she doesn't recall anything like that happening.
That's never happened before?
But, you know, once you're a turtle, you're always a turtle,
Yeah,
I guess.
Now, I saw a picture of you and your teammates outside of Culver's when one of their flavors of the day was turtle. Talk about that. I mean, was that just something that you guys, oh, let's go there to eat, and then all of a sudden you see that on the billboard?
It was actually a scavenger hunt that we did for a preseason workout, kind of, and I don't quite remember what the challenge was, but we had to go to Culver's, and it just happened to be the flavor of the day was turtle, so we thought we'd be funny, and they'd take a picture eating me.
Hey, she has taken this to another level that she's not really bringing forth, but she has a turtle costume also.
Yes.
Isn't this true?
This is
Yes,
true.
okay.
So let's hear about this. A turtle costume? When do you wear this?
Well, last year I kind of, I guess, embraced the nickname and got a turtle costume for Halloween, and it's made multiple appearances outside of Halloween, so.
It's
good.
probably
It was
on
worth
social
it.
media somewhere, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
probably.
have to dig a little bit deeper and try to find pictures of this then. So obviously it's a nickname that you like or that you're okay with.
Yeah, I guess I don't really have a choice. I don't think he knows my name otherwise.
Okay, I understand that. Let's talk a little bit, go back to your high school days because you were a multi-sport athlete in high school. And I don't know why I'm so surprised about that. Obviously, if you're going to be playing athletics at the college level, you're a pretty good athlete all around. But you played soccer in high school, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And you were an all-conference in soccer? So what was the choice then to play basketball in college rather than maybe pursue soccer?
I guess I just felt like I'd always wanted to play college basketball, and I did really like soccer, but I don't know, something about basketball just made me want to continue it after.
Okay. And then 2013, you were actually a state runner-up for your high school team, and then you were named to the All-State team, first team. Talk about that. That must have been quite an honor for you.
Yeah, it was my senior year. We came back from some rough seasons before and had a really good last senior year, made it to state, and I definitely couldn't have done it without all of my teammates around me.
And then I guess final question is, what was your decision then finally to come to Winona State? What was the main tipping point to get you here?
Well, I did have some family members that attended Winona, so they gave me some good tips and advice. And when I came on my visit, there was a feeling about Winona that it felt like home, and everyone was so kind, and the team felt like a family, and I felt like I really fit in here.
And last question then to you is, what does she mean to this team?
Well, she came back from a serious knee injury earlier freshman year, and last year she basically spent the majority of the year recovering from that and gaining her strength, and now she's gaining a lot of confidence, and I'm excited about watching her progress the rest of this year and going into her senior year. She gives us depth. She can defend well. She's good in transition. She's a complete player. Probably the biggest part of her game that we like to see her improve on the most is being vocal. But turtles are quiet, instinctively. So that's probably the biggest challenge for her, just to be more vocal.
All right, well, we'll see if you work on that the rest of the season. Thank you for joining us, and good luck this week against Southwest and Sioux Falls.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you for joining us here on Warriors Fastbreak. We'll see you next week here on TV 25.